There's a trick that costs absolutely nothing, and it resolves the majority of common car problems without a single visit to a mechanic. Not a temporary workaround that comes back in a week. A full computer reset that clears the exact glitches causing your check engine light, your rough idle, and dozens of other frustrating symptoms. Mechanics have quietly used this exact technique for decades, before ever connecting a customer's car to expensive diagnostic equipment. Automotive engineers built this reset function directly into every modern vehicle's computer system, specifically for troubleshooting minor faults. The average diagnostic visit at a dealership costs between $100 and $200, and a huge percentage of those visits end with a problem that this free reset would have solved in 15 minutes. A trick that costs $0 and takes 15 minutes does not generate a single cent of diagnostic fee revenue. They did not stop mentioning this trick because it stopped working. They stopped mentioning it because a $100 diagnostic fee cannot compete with something you can do yourself in your own driveway. This is the story of the mechanic's reset trick, and the reason dealerships would rather you never learn it. Welcome to Vault Breaker. This is where we open every single vault that billion-dollar industries paid good money to lock shut. If this knowledge matters to you, subscribe and ring the bell right now, because what you are about to learn could save you a diagnostic fee the very next time a warning light appears on your dashboard. Here is the actual science behind why this reset works so reliably across almost every make and model on the road today. Every modern vehicle relies on a computer called the Engine Control Unit, commonly known as the ECU, which constantly monitors dozens of sensors and continuously adjusts fuel mixture, ignition timing, and dozens of other variables in real time. Over weeks and months of normal driving, the ECU builds up what is called adaptive learning data. Essentially, a running memory of small adjustments based on your specific driving habits, fuel quality, and sensor readings. Sometimes this adaptive memory drifts slightly out of sync with what your engine actually needs, especially after fuel changes, minor sensor hiccups, or a battery that briefly lost a strong connection. When that drift happens, you experience symptoms like a rough idle, a slightly hesitant acceleration, a check engine light triggered by a sensor reading that was momentarily out of its expected range, or minor infotainment glitches that seem to appear for no clear reason. Disconnecting the car's battery for a sustained period forces the ECU to completely lose power, which wipes that adaptive memory clean and forces the computer to relearn everything from a fresh baseline the next time the engine starts. This is functionally identical to restarting a computer that has been running for weeks without a reboot, clearing out minor software glitches that accumulated simply from continuous operation. Automotive engineers designed this behavior intentionally. The ECU is built to relearn quickly and safely after a power loss, which is exactly why this reset is considered completely safe when done correctly. Now, here's exactly why dealerships and repair shops rarely walk customers through this option themselves. A diagnostic appointment typically begins with connecting your vehicle to a scan tool that reads stored trouble codes from the ECU. In a significant number of cases, especially with vague symptoms like a rough idle or an intermittent warning light, the underlying cause is exactly this kind of adaptive memory drift, rather than an actual mechanical failure. A shop billing by the diagnostic visit and by the hour has very little financial incentive to tell you that the fix might be something you could do yourself for free in your own driveway before ever bringing the car in. This is not necessarily dishonesty on the part of every individual mechanic. Many mechanics personally know and use this trick on their own vehicles. It is simply that the business model of a repair shop is built around billable diagnostic time, not around teaching customers to solve problems before they need an appointment. Think about every diagnostic fee you have paid for a check engine light that mysteriously cleared itself shortly after the visit. Think about every rough idle or minor hesitation you have lived with for months, assuming it required an expensive repair, when the underlying cause may have simply been drifted computer memory. If you have made it this far, you already know more about basic ECU behavior than most people paying a diagnostic fee for a problem a 15-minute reset could resolve. Subscribe and share this with anyone who has ever paid for a diagnostic visit that seemed to fix nothing specific. Now stay with me, because here is exactly how to perform this reset yourself, safely and correctly. Before beginning, note your radio presets and any personalized settings, since a full battery disconnect will typically clear stored radio stations and some infotainment preferences, though your actual vehicle settings and mechanical function are never affected. Turn off the engine completely and remove the key from the ignition, or in keyless vehicles, ensure the vehicle is fully powered down. Open the hood and locate your car battery, then identify the negative terminal, which is marked with a minus sign and is typically connected to a black cable. Using an appropriately sized wrench, loosen the clamp bolt on the negative terminal only, and carefully lift the cable clamp completely off the battery post, making sure it does not accidentally touch the post again during the process. Wait a full 15 minutes with the negative terminal disconnected. This waiting period is important, as it allows the capacitors within the ECU to fully discharge their stored power, ensuring a complete memory reset rather than a partial one. While waiting, you can also press and hold the horn button for a few seconds, which helps discharge the electrical system more quickly if you want a faster reset, though the standard 15-minute wait works perfectly well on its own. After the waiting period, reconnect the negative terminal cable firmly onto the battery post and tighten the clamp bolt securely, making sure the connection feels solid and does not wiggle. Start the engine and allow it to idle for approximately 10 minutes without driving, which gives the ECU time to begin its relearning process while stationary. During this idle period, and for the first 10 to 15 minutes of actual driving afterward, the engine may feel slightly different than usual, potentially idling a bit rougher or shifting slightly differently as the computer relearns its baseline settings. This is completely normal and typically resolves itself within the first short drive. For vehicles with electronic throttle bodies, some manufacturers recommend an additional relearning procedure involving turning the key to the on position without starting the engine for a few seconds, though for most common issues, the standard battery disconnect and idle period is sufficient. I need to be completely honest with you about what this trick can and cannot fix, because overselling it would do you a disservice. This reset is highly effective for clearing check engine lights caused by minor sensor glitches, resolving rough idle or hesitation caused by adaptive memory drift, fixing certain minor infotainment freezes or glitches, and clearing false warning lights that were triggered by a momentary sensor reading rather than an ongoing problem. This reset will not fix an actual mechanical failure, will not repair a genuinely faulty sensor that continues sending bad readings, and will not resolve a persistent check engine light that returns within a day or two, which indicates a real underlying issue that does require proper diagnosis. If your check engine light returns quickly after this reset, that is actually useful diagnostic information itself, since it tells you the problem is a genuine ongoing fault rather than accumulated computer drift. And at that point, a proper diagnostic visit is the right next step. For the significant portion of vague, intermittent car issues that never come back after this simple reset, you will have saved yourself a diagnostic fee and a day without your vehicle. A driver in rural Ohio documented performing this exact reset on an aging sedan in early 2023 after living with a persistent rough idle and an intermittent check engine light for nearly 2 months, having already budgeted for what she assumed would be an expensive sensor replacement. After a standard 15-minute battery disconnect and a short drive to allow the computer to relearn, both the rough idle and the check engine light disappeared completely and had not returned 18 months later, saving her an estimated diagnostic and potential repair cost of several $100s. Mechanics have relied on this basic principle for decades, often performing it quietly as a first step before ever running a full diagnostic scan on a vehicle with vague symptoms. Automotive engineers built this reset capability directly into every modern vehicle's design, fully intending for it to be a legitimate troubleshooting tool rather than a rare technical secret. The diagnostic fee industry built an entire billing structure around problems that a 15-minute, $0 reset resolves in a meaningful share of cases, simply because there was never a financial incentive to lead with that option first. If this vault opens something for you, subscribe and share it with someone who just paid a diagnostic fee for a problem that may never have needed one. The next vault opens soon, and what is buried inside it goes even deeper than this one.